one of the things that's interesting is this goes back to the presidency, but it also goes back. It's kind of a reverse discussion of what we just talked about with Sherrod Brown. Is we got word last week or this past week that the Biden team is considering making a run for Georgia. I mean, making a run for Florida and making a run for Texas. Um, you and I both know um, some of the pitfalls with that. Um, one, I something I didn't talk about, and well maybe I did, but do you think one they feel good, but then two, do you think that there's also the fact that they believe that they have such a money advantage that they will have the staff and the resources in the places it's needed, and is this couch cushion money, right? That they're going into Florida, that they're going into Texas with, and do you think that it's probably? I mean, we know that at some point we might get these states, right? But do you think that's more of a strategic, like we're on the cusp, or it might be, and let's use a football analogy now, we know where we need to win and we'll win there. But let's go ahead and invest some money in Texas, invest some money in Florida, and spread the field. We'll probably lose, but we're gonna go ahead and spread the field. And if they have to defend Texas, if they have to defend Florida, then they're a lot weaker in insert swing state here, right?
Yeah, I think your last point was going to be my main point. I think there's a lot at play here, right? I think one, I don't think they think they can win Texas or Florida. I think the first thing they're thinking of is when you have such a financial advantage on your opponent, can you make them spend even more that they don't have to? Trump could spend $0 in Florida and Texas and still win, but can you push the envelope a little bit and make them spend money with the money that they don't have? I saw a lot of people comparing this to Trump saying that New Jersey, New York is on the board for him, and the difference there is Biden can spend the money in swing states, and Trump doesn't have the money to spend in swing states. So if you're going to go spend money in New York and New Jersey, please by all means do. That means you're spending less money. And I'm talking if you're Trump, please go spend money there because that's less money you're spending in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia. The other point, John, is again, I wholeheartedly believe they don't think they could win it, but can you help somebody? Can you give a boost to Florida Democrats who have had not a great run over the last 15 years? Can you give a boost to Colin, our boy Colin in Texas? Just enough, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to get him to where he needs to be, maybe a fundraiser or two to help him kind of stay the course. The third point here is just because you're going to spend money there, it doesn't actually mean that you're going to spend a lot of money, right? If you spend 0.5% or 1% of it, it doesn't mean that you're going to throw 25% of your budget in Florida or Texas. So I think the headline could be a little bit misleading. May you run an ad, may you have an appearance with Colin, probably. That's spending money. But I don't think they're going to invest, if you will. I think it's like me on a parlay. It's like I'm just going to throw $5 on the Bears making the Super Bowl just because why not? You know what I mean? But I'm not certainly thinking that I'm going to put all my investment there. I think they're focused on Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, maybe North Carolina, flirting. I don't think they're going to spend a lot, but if you can help somebody out, why not?
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, I think what may be happening, and I do think there's a Colin Allred, and I think in Florida it's Debbie McCarcel-Powell is the candidate. She's a former member of Congress, but I think what you're probably looking at is twofold. First and foremost, I think you and I both agree, regardless of whether it's Senate or president, this money is probably, do we want to use the phrase decoy money? But or is it's flood the zone money, right? And it's saying to both Rick Scott and Ted Cruz, you'll probably win, but we ain't letting it be a walkover. Also, I think, isn't Colin putting up some really good money numbers too? I think he's putting up some gaudy numbers money wise. So Colin might not need a lot of direct investment. But if all of a sudden the perception is that Biden's coming into Texas and he's spending money, it maybe that might swing a couple of points Collins' way, strictly because there's some excitement, there's some what have you. But here's the thing, and I know that Jack Smith has not necessarily got a lot of time on his side, but I also know that Alvin Bragg is definitely going to trial in April. They pretty much said that this new tranche of documents that they put out, Trump will be a convicted felon by Memorial Day. I keep telling you this, folks. He's not going to be a fairly convicted felon, but for every other American who would have ever run for president of the United States, one felony conviction, forget the three other indictments, one felony conviction should be enough to end you. And of America, and I say that all, and how does this relate to Florida and Texas? Once Trump catches his first felony, does that map get turned upside down? And does all of a sudden one or two states that seemed out of reach get are now back in play? You know, that'll be a very fascinating thing.